We are living in an era of human history of unprecedented change, inspiring new beginnings and extraordinary new insights. People in these times are conceiving the novel perception of a relationship between each other and between them and the earth upon which we all stand. This novel perception is one that our immediate ancestors could scarcely imagine, but which at one time in the distant past was shared by all humans, no matter where on the planet they resided. It is now a relatively well accepted fact that a long time ago all humans lived a very basic and rudimentary lifestyle, wandering the face of the earth as small hunter-gatherer groups, not unlike contemporary rainforest indigenous tribespeople or the Kung Bushmen of the African Kalahari Desert. We know that the few folk that still follow that lifestyle have a radically different perception of their relationship to each other and their relationship to their environment than the one most of us have maintained for centuries. Undoubtedly, our distant ancestors also had that same attitude, and that attitude was likely one that those distant ancestors lived with for thousands of years. As we learn how present-day hunter-gatherers view their place in the scheme of creation, we are in fact looking at our own past. We realize that the majority of humans have been transformed by time and our experiences into quite different beings in the way we see things, and we may well wonder what changed us so, and in what ways might we be returning to those ancient attitudes now after all these years. The ancestors of modern-day civilized people once thought and perceived reality in exactly the same way that modern-day indigenous people do. And the interesting thing is that in many ways, we are all returning to those same attitudes again. More and more, all over the world, people are discarding the us versus them attitude that characterized most of our species and adopting a curiously indigenous attitude of we are all us. There are no them. It is happening gradually and in some cases almost imperceptible ways, but it is happening. It transforms the way in which individuals separated by the divisions of race, nationality, ethnicity, and religion are increasingly interacting with each other, and it is reforming official policies that communities and even nations are adopting toward each other. It is slowly eliminating separateness and creating a kind of global community, a community that in many ways is reminiscent of the ancient tribal communities that wandered over the face of the earth in primordial times. Today, we, the descendants of those ancient Ice Age people, stand at the threshold of undreamed of transformation. The impact of this transformation is swirling around humanity like an unstoppable maelstrom, and at the center of that vortex stands the prophetic message of transformative time cycles brought to the world by an indigenous race called the Mayas. Huge 5,200-year time span known as a sun. The ancient Mayas saw the period of time that it took the consciousness of human beings to evolve into what it is today as a series of 5 of these enormous cycles of 5,200 years, these 5 suns. The concept of 5 suns stands at the very heart of the Maya prophetic message that explains our transformation from an ancient global indigenous community to a modern day community of all-consuming antagonism, and our gradual cycling back to what we once were. Among the modern day descendants of the ancient Mayas who have taken on the task of bringing this timeless message to humanity is a young Quiche Maya teacher from Guatemala called Antonio Ajic. This man, in cooperation with Cuban-born Taino indigenous spiritual guide Miguel Sagué, has established a ritual pattern of teachings and transformative ceremony which has allowed thousands of people to experience firsthand the hidden beauty of the legitimate Maya message. This legitimate Maya message of Antonio Ajic and Miguel Sagué harmonizes with the message of other great contemporary Maya teachers, such as the Central American member of the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers Council, Flora de Mayo, and the head of Guatemala's Maya Council of Elders, Don Alejandro Perez Oslach, who is one of the many teachers with whom Miguel has worked over the years. The cyclical message of the 5 suns is universal among these teachers and features as the most important element of the millennial prophecy. I want to introduce Don Alejandro Perez Oslach.
Legalmente lo que va a hacer es esto, estamos hablando, es la finalización de un periodo de sol.
What this signifies is the ending of one period of the sun.
Hoy estamos finalizando el 5º periodo de sol.
We are finalizing the 5th period of the sun.
Cada periodo de sol tiene la cantidad de 5.200 años.
And each period of the sun has 5,200 years.
Ya empezamos otra cuenta de 5.200 años.
It's like starting another count of 5,200 years.
Y ahora se está terminando. Aquí estamos en el 5º sol. Y recuérdense que el 5º sol, pues no va a haber nada de un término del mundo, que va a haber algo de cambio con futuro de los hijos y los nietos.
There is an important element in the message of Maya teacher Antonio Ajic and Taino elder Miguel Sagué that highlights momentous astronomical phenomena. The most relevant of these is the optical illusion image of the sun superimposed upon the central wide portion of the Milky Way galaxy near the so-called galactic black rift on each December 21st winter solstice day of the year 2012 and during the years that precede and follow that landmark date. This phenomenon is caused by the temporary approximate alignment of the Earth, the Sun, and that portion of the galaxy on each winter solstice day during a period of time of about 200 years. This phenomenon is caused by the process called precession and has been demonstrated as the single most important aspect of the ancient Maya tradition of long cyclic periods of time by the North American theoretician John Major Jenkins. Jenkins sees in this ancient tradition the basis for the Maya understanding of the effect of cyclic time spans upon human consciousness, and he presented as much in the spring of 2010 as part of a lecture that he delivered in cooperation with Maya teacher Antonio and Taino elder Miguel.
So I'm very excited to be here. This is kind of a special event for me because in speaking with Anne about conceiving this presentation, I suggested that we bring along my friend Miguel and Antonio as well. Antonio is a Quiche Maya from the highlands of Guatemala. Miguel Sage is a Taino of descent, and they're both involved in teaching indigenous wisdom teachings. And so I thought it was really, really going to be an important and special offering to share the space with them. One thing I've learned in many years of studying and working with the Maya teachings, that especially around the whole 2012 thing, you know, there's been a lot of interest in the 2012 topic in the media lately, and there's all kinds of ideas floating around about it. And my approach to 2012 has always been to be a clear voice for the authentic Maya ideas, as best as I could understand them, and convey them as clearly as possible. So to have Miguel and Antonio here is kind of a special event, because I think increasingly as we get closer and closer to 2012, we're going to be wanting to open up the stage, you might say, to the authentic indigenous voice, because I really do believe that it's the indigenous mind and the indigenous values that 2012 is really about.